John with IRD Racing. Today we're going to talk FuelTech products and why they're important for your high performance application. So today we're going to go a little bit in depth. We're going to talk about the FuelTech FT550, where we've got a couple of harnesses here for you to see. Got some nanos for you injected guys. Yes, we do that too. We also have some peak and holds here. We have some smart coils, which we've got 10, but we're only going to use it for display purposes 1. And we also have the Innovators West 12-1 crank wheel. So we're going to go ahead and discuss a little bit more about what is all in with FuelTech, because that is a common question that we get all the time. Man, I'm old school. I'm an old dog. I don't want to learn new tricks. I'm set in my MSD ways. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you start talking about data acquisition for guys that are trying to take, let's do one of our previous videos, the MSD Ultra 6AL Plus. That box is only going to get you so far. Then the next step up would be, a 7531, which was dated back to 1999, 2000, and then the grid, which was 2014 to still current. So with a lot of the new ignition systems that are on the market, there's a lot of benefits that you're going to get from having a FuelTech. Some people prefer to have Holley, Haltech, Motec. Very, very good components with all of the brands combined, and there's different things that they offer. We personally prefer FuelTech products over all other manufacturers for ease of use, the simplicity, and not only does FuelTech stand behind their product, but we also help you as well. So if you're doing a carbureted, setup, which is stirs up a bunch of controversy, having a carburetor with a FuelTech, people don't really understand what the benefits are, because not only are you getting the ignition control with the smart coils doing coil on plug, you're getting your 12-1, which MSD can only do 4 on 90. You got your O2 sensors. Again, for you injected guys, peak and hold drivers for your low or high impedance injectors, depending on what you're doing. There is a lot of things that go into this that once you wire things up and simplify what you're trying to data log, this actually is not as bad as you really want to think. So for you old guys out there, let's see if we can teach you a new trick. So today, FT550, see how it comes pre-sealed, the whole 9 yards. We actually sold this to one of our customers, and he is going to be converting his old MSD 6AL ignition to FT550. We're going to help set it up with him to get him going, and we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of unboxing for you. So pretty much it's got the logo, sealed sticker. You can tell it's all brand new. And what we're going to go ahead and do is, let's go ahead and move this smart harness and pro harness out of the way, and we'll get to that in a minute. So again, FuelTech FT550. And what's really nice about this is that the ECU that you see, this is the brain, this is everything. So when you're trying to piggyback, screens upon screens like the Holley does, the problem becomes cost, where FuelTech has just integrated everything into one. So with this, obviously you're going to have your quick installation guide. If you guys that are into following directions, which on something like this I would highly advise you to do. FuelTech also gives you a bunch of little goodies too. Get yourself a nice little FuelTech sticker kit. This is very important. This is the programming wire that goes to the back of the ECU. So do not throw this away. Do not break it. Treat this as if this was your own child if you have one. Vibration mounts, little keychain, some hardware to bolt things in, nice little emblem, and just to kind of give you the warm and fuzzy and welcome to the FuelTech family. And remember, FuelTech is not just for fuel-injected cars. FuelTech can be used on carbureted cars. It can be used on motorcycles. It can be used on water sports. Hell, I've even mounted one up on a go-kart. So it's really interesting on what you can do with these, and it really makes things simple. So FuelTech with the FT550 gives you this little bracket. This will be going to the back of your ECU, which is very well potted and covered, and it's even got a nice little lamination on the screen so nothing gets scratched. So what separates this between the 450 and the 600 and even their new 700 is this. You don't have the integrated shift light LEDs, and you don't have your forewarning LEDs. This one does virtual LED warning lights. So let's say you're running your oil pressure and you have your threshold set at, hey, at 30 pounds of oil pressure, I want the light to come on. Let me know I have low oil pressure. I need to shut this engine off. This screen, doesn't matter what screen that you have already preset on there, because you can flip through different toggles and infinite adjustability, infinite settings in this. But for the simple ones that just want basically what's on the picture, it doesn't matter if you're on that screen. If the oil light comes on, it's coming in and it's letting you know. You can set it to flash, it has an alarm feature. It lets you know something is wrong, please shut me down. So that's pretty cool about that. The FT550 does not have as many inputs and outputs as the 600 does. And for a lot of my customers that are doing like severe heavy duty nitrous, or they're trying to make that jump from nitrous, they're going to blow through, doesn't matter, alcohol, gas, E85, doesn't matter. It all depends on how many things you really want to monitor. So before getting into something like this, I always tell everybody, hey, how many things do you want to monitor? Do you want to do shock sensors? Do you want to do a ride height sensor? Do you want to do your converter charge sensors? Do you want to do thermal coupling and seeing all your EGTs? Do you want to see, temperature inside the converter charge pressure, so that way you know exactly what your converter temperature is? A lot of people put a probe in the pan and they think that that's what their temperature is in their transmission. That just simply isn't it. You have to remember, turbo cars especially, the heat is generated in the converter. So whatever's sitting in that cavity is what the real temperature is going to be when it exhausts the fluid and pushes it back into the pan. The difference is when you catch it coming out of the exhaust port of the transmission on its way back to the pan, that's the real temperature that you need to be paying attention to. A lot of temperatures in fluids, people don't really realize the reason why temperatures need to be cool all the time when you're racing a car, or even if it's hot and that's how you race it. You have to pick one way or another to keep consistency, because obviously with heat, the oil thins out, makes converters looser. Hence why guys sometimes use hydraulic oil. They'll use that because it's a thicker fluid. It can withstand the heat a little bit better than some of the transmission fluids out there, but not all hydraulic fluid works. I will tell you a great one that we like to use. It's called HPL. It's the Pro Max 30. That stuff has a high resistance to heat, keeps the transmissions lubricated. It has a temperature stabilizer mineral inside that oil to really help your performance needs, and obviously clutch engagements go a long way. But again, so back to the 550, really nice potted. Again, not as many inputs and outputs to go ahead and hook up in your car. That way you want to monitor whatever. I would tell you, again, if you're monitoring nitrous pressure, shock sensors, ride height sensors, you're doing shock velocity, you're doing your drive shaft sensor, you're doing, like our shop car, I have a weather sensor from Plimpton that I put on there. It takes up 4 inputs. So know the products that you're putting on and why you're putting them on the car, because you want to make sure that you keep everything in the data log all in one. It's very important. So if you're the guy that's not going to be data logging nowhere near as much as like what we do on our shop car, then a 550 may be the best bet for you. Simple, easy to use, doesn't get you confused. It's along the same lines as the 450, the 600. What separates this from the 700 has far more capabilities than what these FT550s can do, because that is known as a VCU. Totally different ball of wax when it comes to processing and things of what they do versus the ECU. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in. We'll go in depth a little bit more with some of the lead components that we have around here, and we'll start explaining to you what's great about this. And for you guys that are boosted, blow through, or even injected, that don't know and that are not familiar with FuelTech, your map sensor is already built into the back of this. So there's no need to put another map sensor in your intake manifold because it's already right here. Makes it plug and play easy. Now, the cable, obviously the cable port goes into the back here for your USB. This is what you will connect to your laptop, do all your tuning features. What makes this awesome is that you don't have to have the car powered up to program it. You can leave your laptop on. It sees power from USB. You can make all your changes, save and write to ECU, and all of a sudden, bam, everything's there, good to go. The other thing that makes FuelTech really cool, in my opinion, is, I don't know about you guys, but some of these companies that make these ECUs, they want to kind of make things a little bit more complicated than what it really needs to be. And meaning that, hey, some companies say, hey, in order to change in between maps, you need to turn this switch, turn the key off, turn it back on, flash it, and then all of a sudden it's there. With a FuelTech, you hit a map selector switch when you program it in your generic outputs for your switch panel Mini 8, which we don't have one here because this customer didn't want one in particular because they have a ARC module or ARC panel that they like to use, and that's what they chose to do. But basically, you can set a button via CAN communication that will allow you to switch the tune on the fly. Let's say you pull up to the lane, guy in front of you decides his transmission wants to commit suicide and it lays oil all over the place. Well, no worries about it. Your buddy or yourself, depending on how you race, you will be able to figure out, okay, hey, this track's probably not going to be as well prepped as what it was before this all happened. So the thing that you'll end up doing is sitting in the lanes, key on, hit the map selector button, flashes to tune 2. These will hold 3 tune-ups. I tell you, let's just be real, you only need 2. You're going to program what you want your car in the pits, you're going to go to the lanes, and you're going to try to throw that down. The only time you're ever going to revert back to a slower tune, if you will be is obviously if the track conditions change on you in an instant, or, you know, things are just probably not going to work out to your favor in that aspect. So, this is the ECU, again, FT550. This is a really good ECU to use. We recommend it. I have a 600 in my Nova personally. Again, we don't have any injectors or anything like that because we are blow-through carbureted. And in my opinion, I think that's the best of both worlds. You get something that gives you all the programming and capabilities, from building out a launch retard curve. You can do timing manipulation via plot. You can ride the dots basically to allow you to have management and pull X amount of degrees depending on how hard it hits it. Drive shaft curves. You can do all types of things with this, and this is a real benefit. Set an alarm, basically. You let go of the trans brake, you're going down the track, all of a sudden you decide that, or your motor decides it's going to lose oil pressure. You can set a safety cutoff that if, hey, with the oil pressure drops below X, I want it to do an ignition cut, and it shuts the motor off. And there's a lot of safety features that I find that are very helpful for new customers that aren't really too familiar with this. And let's say that, you know, maybe some of the parts that they're using may be questionable, that may not hold up for the type of power that they're trying to make, but they're going to do it anyway. So the FuelTech FT550 definitely gets an approval from us. All the FuelTech lineup does, obviously, and we also support that, and it's available here at IRD Racing for the same price that you pay from FuelTech USA. So let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about crank triggers and ignition coils and why they're important to pair up with your ECUs. So when you're running alcohol and you're trying to make ungodly amounts of horsepower, you're not going to really be in a smart coil. Now, granted, smart coils can make power with methanol, but the thing that you also have to remember is that these coils are not really designed to create enough energy to fire all the fuel that the alcohol is going to be inside your combustion chamber. So there comes a point where you need to step up to what they would call an FT Spark 6 or 8 box, and that changes the millijoules of spark that you actually get from the output side of it to allow it to snap across the spark plug to ignite that fuel. It's a faster delivery, it's a cleaner delivery, it's a different type of wavelength when it sees ground and how it burns fuel in that combustion chamber, which is the difference between CDI ignition and smart coil. So, smart coil is pretty basic, you know, pretty straightforward. FuelTech, they do a great job of all this, very well packaged. Bubble wrap. Here's typically what your smart coil looks like from FuelTech. They also offer the nice smart coil brackets on their website. If you're doing an order with us and you need it, just let us know inside the chat that we would be in, whether it be via email or obviously if we're on the phone, because that's how people know us, is that we like to actually be on the phone and talk to our customers. So this is a very good thing to have. This is a very good ignition coil. I always tell people when you're doing ignition coils, if you got a 6-cylinder, get 8 coils. If you got an 8-cylinder, get 10 coils. If you got a 10-cylinder, get 12 coils. The reason why is you always want to make sure you have a backup. It's not that they're going to break. It's a wear item. The other thing is they always let go of you on you at the worst times. You'll be in the middle of going to final round. You got a dead hull. What are you going to do? You don't have a coil. You only got a backup. Now you're going to go up there with 7 cylinders and hope for the best. Don't let your competition know that. Now, let's talk about the crank wheels. So this is an Innovator's West. This is what we call a 12-1. What that is that a typical MSD crank trigger wheel will be 4 on 90, which means there are four magnets across from one another at 90 degrees. 12-1 is basically what this does is that it reads the crank timing in a more precise angle. There's going to be one split where there's going to be 60 degrees between them, and then there'll be 30 on every other one. So let's use this as an example. Let's say you take your crank trigger sensor, you set it at 50 degrees before top dead center. You're dead nuts on that magnet. So your sensor is lining up to the magnet, dead on. The next sensor that would be, or the next magnet that would be up on top of that, you would knock that one out, and then you would leave the next one there. So that way, as it does its swing, it references to the ECU, hey, this is the spark sequence, this is the timing, this is everything is in check between our cam sync, between our 12-1 wheel, engine is happy, everything is good. You can make them work on 4 on 90, but it is way more difficult to make a 4 on 90 work with a FuelTech efficiently. So let's go ahead and open up this 12-1 wheel here, and we'll show you what we have. Now, obviously, you know, Innovator's West does a pretty good job with all their stuff. FuelTech wouldn't recommend them if they didn't. And remember, you know, obviously we have other companies out there like ATI. You can do your 12-1 on your actual balancer itself. You just have to make sure that you tell ATI where you want those individual magnets. That way it does the same thing as what a 12-1 wheel is. And that will save you roughly about 3/8 of an inch pulling in a supercharger like a Pro Charger if it sticks out. If anybody knows anything about a Nova, there is no room in the front of those cars. So anything we can do to pull the blowers closer to the crank, the better. But here is the Innovator's West crank wheel. It's actually really nice. Made out of 6061 billet aluminum machined. It's going to be kind of hard to see this, but it's got their logo, Innovator's West, multiple holes for balancer mounting, and then obviously you can see the magnets as it goes around this setup. And this is what gives you more precise crank timing. So when this reads to the FuelTech FT550, 600, 450, 700 VCU, it doesn't matter. This is letting the ECU know, hey, everything is perfectly in line. This is what we have. One of the magnets will get knocked out. It'll have a 60-degree split, and then it knows its sequence, and it tells the ECU what it's doing. Certain combinations may or may not need that. They may need more magnets because they want to see even more. I mean, hell, I've heard of 36. Some of the LS guys is 24 or 58X setups, but those don't typically have one of these. They have the reluctor wheel inside the crankshaft, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because those are prone to, you know, slipping and moving and changing timing and all that stuff. That's why if you own an LS, it's a very good idea for you guys to go ahead and weld those on, or just simply go to a crank trigger setup in the front, or in your guys' case with LS's stuff would be is call ATI, tell them what crank you're running, and then put your magnets in all the spots that you need them for what your setup is going to be, so that way you get the benefits of having a crank trigger without needing the space of a crank trigger. So, now, move on to the next thing. Here are the wideband nanos. So, FuelTech has the nanos, the Nano Pros. They do a bunch of different stuff where you have more controllability to activate or deactivate things, where, you know, via CAN system gives you more options for buttons to control things on their Nano Pro. This one right here is their Gen 2 Nano, if you will. So it looks like a Nano Pro. And for you guys that have just the standard Nanos, like what I have on my Nova, that plug is still the same. Nothing changes. So you can take literally your conditioner box off, put this right in its place, everything's going to work. This box here does not have any button features to touch or to program or anything like that like the Nano Pro does. But realistically, when you're setting up your FuelTech system, it would probably be a really good idea to just make sure that all your programs and features are done through the CAN system with Mini 8 or Mini 5 or 4 or however many buttons you need, and go from there. So very short, simple, comes with your instruction manual as well. And for this customer, we got 2 because this is going in a collector car. Now, let's move on to the smart coil harness. So when you get this from FuelTech, they come in here, and this one is the smart coil harness, like we said. this coil harness here will have all your hookups that you need for your pass-throughs to hook up to all of your smart coils. This gets tied into the Pro harness that we will get into in a second. So just remember, all your leads and everything that you're going to have that are for your smart coils, they come off of this lead here. So you have, like, even right here, head ground. This is to do per bank. Head ground, head ground. These are all the numbers. They are already pre-labeled on their harnesses. And they do an excellent job as far as the length, trying to take into account for any car that you're going to put this in. So, like, mine is a 69 Nova. And I ended up getting the CDI harness that utilizes with FT Spark 8. So my coil harness is just a tad different than this. But the length of which they did allowed me to run it on top of the cowl panel inside, underneath where my windshield wipers would be, and really route it nice and neat. I made a pass through, and 4 per side with the head ground on each side. It fit perfect. Everything was good. And you have this, it goes to the inside. Obviously these will just lock in. Can't pull that apart. This right here is called forethought. They're prepared for whatever you're doing. These will not come free under vibration. That's why this is the way it is. 4 holes to mount on your firewall. That way, if you're going to go ahead and take the motor out and you're like, man, this is, let's just say it's, inside the engine bay for whatever reason. Now you have it all looped up underneath your manifold for whatever reason. Again, you're never going to do that, but this is an example. It's all coiled up. You don't want to take this out from underneath there because it's a bear to get underneath there. Simply unscrew this. This comes off the firewall. That goes with the engine. This stays with the car. Super simple. This also comes with your relays. And these right here are amazing because when they're fusible relays, the way that these are set up, you pop this actually will light up on you. This will let you know when it's bad. These are high processing. They're very fast. They're very efficient. And this is really, all of this is made for plug and play on the FuelTech components. So when I tell you guys, hey, if you're going to get an unterminated harness, unterminated harnesses are for guys that wire professionally, that do this every day, and they have an idea on how they want to run their wires and how they want to go ahead and set the car up. And that's okay. That saves a little bit of time from a pro wiring perspective, but if you're not a pro wiring guru, this is where this comes into play. So now we will go ahead and talk about the smart coil, or the pro harness. Manual, can't stress to you enough. If you like instructions, read these. If you don't, read these. This harness is everything that you're going to need. This is one side where they say this is the Pro 550 V8 harness, and this is the engine side. Comes with a part number, comes with a pin. They know who makes these in-house. They're done by job. That's how strict FuelTech is. They don't make bullshit. They make the real deal. So you can see all nice and wire shielded and grounds of where they need to be and things where they need to be. You got also your CAN connections in the car. There's going to be multiple ones in this harness to do multiple things. If you have EGT4s or EGT8, you have the Mini 5, Mini 8 panel for your touch buttons. That's where some of these will be. But there's also terminator caps too that you have to remember that end the line so it completes the circuit for CAN. This one is labeled pan vac and back pressure. So that way you already know that in this harness, there's going to be some things that are already done. Your oil, your water, your O2 sensors, your wastegate pressure, your pan vac pressure. All of that is already going to be predefined in the book. When you read it, you will see what wire is used for what. So when you're putting in your inputs and outputs, read the book again and know that when you're wiring these things, it doesn't go A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. No. It might be A2, A7, A11, A21. The numbers move around, so you have to program that into the ECU when you're adding your external inputs and outputs. So this is one half of the harness. Here's the other half. And this one is the interior harness. It's going to be kind of hard to move this because it is very robust in the way that they make them. Pro V8 550 harness. This is going to be our interior side. This will go up to the firewall. This one that goes in the engine bay will do the same thing as it follows. You find it where it just sits there and spin it, and it goes ahead and it clicks in. Then you just go ahead and put it together. It doesn't come apart. Super easy. Pulling engines in and out don't have to be a pain in the ass anymore because now you have these connectors. So again, the quick rundown of everything is wired, everything is coded, everything is already thought out. Like right here, this is for FT450 and FT550. These are the plugs that go on the back of the ECU. There's an A and a B. Very simple. Then you also have, obviously, your main powers that go directly to battery. You have more of your CAN bus A's and B's. You have your battery leads themselves. For guys that are mounting your batteries in the trunk, I'm going to tell you that there is enough wire to do that to take those leads all the way back to the back. I will tell you from a professional side of things here, if you can bring the battery all the way up inside the interior of the car, because this is a drag car, not a street car, road course car, whatever it may be, bring the battery as far forward in the car as you can. Make those power leads as short as you can. That's going to be a benefit no matter what. Because when we're talking about voltage and wires and how we have resistance in wires and things like that as times go by and aging, it's just better to keep things as short as you can. Make sure you got a really, really good set of battery crimpers. That way you can crimp the wires the way that they need to be. And go ahead and invest in the time they did for you when you bought this. So if you're cutting it short, make sure you go to Napa or go to O'Reilly's and get yourself some of that heat shrinking that has that glue on the inside. That way when you're done doing it, you can heat it up. Everything is tight. Nothing from the weather, outside humidity, there can't be any erosion. None of that stuff is going to penetrate any of the wires that you're cutting back and crimping back onto it. So just a little bit of thought for you guys, that way you have it. These two leads right here, these go to your nanos, so these are going to just plug right into this. Done. It's very well thought out. It's a very nice piece. You can rename certain things in the box and certain things you just can't. Let's say you guys that are running alcohol, you had a smart coil harness, the whole 9 yards, you change over to the FT Spark 8, and now you're no longer running water in your engine. What you can do is you can take your water temperature sensor, put that probe in the pan, take the water temp sensor, make sure that that is protruding into the oil, and now you're reading oil temperature, which is good if you guys are having a pre-warmer to warm up the oil, and then with your Peterson primer or whatever primer that you have for your oil, go ahead and prime your oil. You'll be able to see the temperature drop in the oil. You'll be able to see the oil pressure rise because you're priming and doing things before each individual startup, which I would highly recommend you doing that if you are an alcohol cart anyway. Nobody likes dry starts, especially your push rods. Keep that in mind. So hopefully we brought to light, some things. If you guys had some questions on if you were going to invest in a FuelTech system, I will tell you it is a very good investment. Not only for your car, but it will increase the resale value. If for some reason you had a catastrophic thing happen in your family or in your life, if you invest in your race car, think of it kind of like a stock. Sometimes, depending on how you build your car, it can bring you back some money. But obviously we all know racing hobbies equals money pits. That's just it. But when you have the best and you make your life easier at the track, you turn more laps, your car stays more consistent, you have more areas to tune, and now that you have all the data wrapped up in one, think about this. This is actually lighter than if you were to try to put a Holley in the car. You get a Dominator ECU, then you got to buy a dash, then you got to buy all these extra boxes that go with it just to make something happen, where FuelTech says, no, we're just going to go ahead and involve everything into one. Like I said, the difference between the 550 and the 600 is just basically the LED lights that go on the outside and for your shift, and just the way that the system works. They're all on the same program. That's what makes things so nice. So, and again, last but not least, for you injected guys, you have your peak and holds. Standard ones, they have peak and hold pros. This one will only do 4 channels per box. So if you're doing two rows of injectors or whatever you're doing there, you're going to need 4 of these, where this will only do 8. So still pretty robust. It's pretty good. Everything's packaged nice. You get your vibration mounts. You get more instructions. So you guys know that, hey, when it comes to your ignition system and when it comes to your data logging and it comes to keeping things as neat and clean as possible to be the most effective at the racetrack, because you're trying to do the best that you can without pulling data from here, to pull data from here, to look at one screen, having to go back and make other changes. It comes down to just being a pain in the ass. Where with this, you pull the data up once, you're looking at everything. They give you a row list of data options on the side. That way you can pick what you really want to look at and what maybe is not so important to you. But I think when you're trying to level your game up and take it to the next level, FuelTech products definitely are the way to go in our opinion. And their tech support, in my opinion, is second to none. I've personally used it. I've wired my car up with their products. It is not bad at all. And now that, you know, we have experience in the FuelTech area, we can help you as well. Not only from tuning fuel injected cars, but we put these on carbureted cars as well. So just keep that in mind on your future builds. Maybe let things sink in a little bit and do yourself some homework, man. You know, just pick out everything that you're going to need for your MSD, but just know what it's going to give you. There will be some things that it can do for you. Then there's some things it definitely cannot do for you. What's more important to you? Clean, effective, consistency, or, hey, this is cheap for now. Let's hope that we can make this work. Oh, my mat sensor didn't read correctly. Oh, it threw a bunch of timing in my motor and blew up. That you ain't got to worry about with this. So, again, another video for you guys that are thinking about going with a different ignition system, or for you old guys that don't like learning new tricks. This isn't bad at all. Just have an open mind to it. And this right here, honestly, will be the best investment that you put in your car for an ignition/data logging aspect. For us carburetor guys who like our carburetors and we don't want to come off of them, you're still getting all the benefits from an EFI system minus the fuel injection. And that gives you more control of your car. So think about that the next time someone says, well, why do you got a FuelTech in your car when you're carbureted? There's your answer. All right, guys. Leave comments. Remember, if you're new to the channel and you like this video, please like and subscribe. It's only going to help us grow the channel. We are going to try to bring more videos for you guys, more informative videos. That way, when you look on our website and you see a product that you want, you can check our YouTube, our TikTok, our Instagram, Facebook, the whole 9 yards, and just say, hey, you know, a lot of our customers, they're doing stuff like this. See where you want to be. Ask the questions. And like I said, man, consistency wins races. So I guess until the next video, hope you all have a great day. See you at the races.